Cory Oliver. Thanks for watching the Coriolis Effect. Please hit the subscribe button below, and we hope you like this episode. Good morning, Bob.
Good morning, Cory. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited about today. As always, we have Anne Elizabeth with Smart Conservatives on the show.
Yes.
So
looking
we'll
forward
get a
to
little, she is considered the media darling at CPAC, so I'm excited about that. Yeah, we'll talk a lot with her. But I do have a funny
Quite
little...
the looker.
Quite the what?
The looker.
Oh.
So she's easy on the eyes.
Yes, she's beautiful. I did not hear that right. I didn't, and I was like, let's not insult our guests before they get on the show.
No, that's looker with an L,
yes,
people.
okay, she is beautiful. But I want to just talk to you a moment about the iPhone.
The iPods?
The iPods.
iBuds.
Earbuds.
Right.
I actually...
Are they iBuds or earbuds?
They're AirBuds. AirPods.
Okay.
And I love them.
Sorry, Apple.
I have nothing to say negative about them other than I personally lose them. I'm on my fourth pair. I have had the Pro. I have had the Buds. I went to Costco and I got these. They were like $129 in an effort to please you, Bob, my producer.
Thank you.
Because when we do the Zoom calls, it's hard to hear. And so...
So when you say in an effort to please me, you mean so that you could hear?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And...
By the way, when you lose them, they fall out or you just misplace them?
Well... The day I bought them, I went home, and I was going pee. And for some reason, I forgot that I had it in my ear.
You can say going pee?
I said going pee.
Okay.
I was urinating. I don't know. What are you supposed to say? I was going to the loo.
No, we know that we never use bad
potty.
Language around Cory because that's... But I guess
pee bad language?
I don't know.
Okay, I was going potty.
Okay. I don't think that's worse.
And pee.
I was going number one. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I have dug such a hole. I really just wanted to tell my story. Anyhow... it fell into the toilet after I finished.
Oh, and how did it feel in your ear when you picked it up and put it back in?
Here's the funny part. I was like panicking, and I'm like, I can't let it sit in there too long because it'll marinate and the thing won't work. I just got them that day. It was the same day. So I reached down and I grabbed the ear pod and I rushed to my blow dryer, my Dyson blow dryer, which I love. And I'm thinking, Dyson, it's going to just knock it out. So I blow it dry. Oh, my first thought was to rinse it, but then that's adding insult.
Did you wash your hands first?
No, I didn't wash my hands. I had no time. This was like a real panic moment. So I take it and I blow it dry. I'm blowing it dry. I'm like, okay, this is fine. I put it in my ear thinking I'm going to have to go to Costco and tell them that I urinated on my AirPods, and it works.
So basically, Apple should be one of our sponsors?
Yes.
We should do a commercial?
Yes.
A reenactment?
Yeah, I'll do it.
But let me get the story straight first. You had gone number one already.
I went pee.
And then you dropped it in.
I heard something plunk, and I'm like, what is that? And then I went, no.
So you reached into urine-filled water.
Yes, I did.
Grabbed your AirBud.
Yes.
Did you rinse it off?
No, because if I rinsed it, that would add insult to injury. I would have literally doused the ear pod.
I got you. So then you dried it off with the Dyson blower.
I did.
And then you put your urine-soak-infested AirBud back into your ear. Miss OCD germaphobe.
Yes, I did.
Back in, and it worked.
It was my urine. It was my urine. And urine is, by the way, a little fun fact of science. It is very sanitary. I understand it's considered your elimination and it's waste, but it's very what's
sterile.
The word for it? Sterile?
Okay, first of all, you're correct. It is sterile in the body. When it leaves the body, it immediately grabs all of the not toxins, all of the bacteria in the air and becomes unsterile immediately.
I'll be honest with you, I don't really care. My AirPods work, and I didn't have to go back to Costco and humiliate myself. Right. So thank you, Apple, for making a great, durable product.
And if you need a sponsorship. Okay, so my last question is, the 5-second rule, you drop something on the floor.
Yes.
But what's the, how many seconds when you drop something in the toilet?
Well, honestly, for this, it was literally a nanosecond, but it was fully immersed.
Was there any hesitation in your mind before you plunged your hand into that urine-filled toilet?
What I thought? I just got these today. I just got them today. And I didn't want to go back to Costco and be like, oh, hey, I dropped it in the toilet. So I'm really grateful it works. I'm impressed, by the way, too.
Note to Costco, if Cory Oliver shows up trying to return AirPods, do not take them.
No, exactly. I wouldn't. No bueno. Anyway.
Okay, well, nice story.
Thank you.
That's good. That's a good one.
It's true, actually.
Today's episode is brought to you by Aqua 9 Plus all-natural ionic mineral alkaline drinking water. Aqua 9 Plus is one of the first and only all-natural ionic mineral bottled drinking waters in the world. It has one of the highest and most stable pH of any bottled water on the market, with a pH ranging from 9.5 to 10. And I gotta tell you, besides tasting great, high alkaline water has so many positive health benefits. It increases your endurance. It deactivates pepsin in the body, which helps reduce the occurrences of upset stomachs. It neutralizes pesticides and fungicides on produce. It increases oxygen delivery throughout the body, and it helps reduce heartburn and indigestion. When you consider that coffee can have a pH as low as 2, which is very acidic, that pH can be neutralized by using high pH water. And a medical study has suggested that alkaline ionized water may have benefits for people with high blood pressure, diabetes, and high cholesterol. You can go to aquanineplus.com. That's AQUANINEPLUS.com to find the nearest store that sells Aquanine Plus all-natural ionic mineral alkaline drinking water. They also sell a home water system which produces purified ionic mineral 9.5 plus pH drinking water naturally directly in your home without the use of electricity.
And you
Wow,
can also
that's cool.
Yeah, and you can also find filling stations at local grocery stores. If you go to their website, aquanineplus.com, they'll tell you where the nearest filling station is near you. So you go there with a 5-gallon jug or a 2-gallon jug, pay your money, and it fills it up, and it lasts for a couple of weeks.
There's actually one at Air One. There's all the Air Ones. It's a great water. It's really great water. It actually tastes great. We are grateful to have them on the show and supporting us.
Yes.
But I also love their water.
No, their water tastes great.
Hi guys, it's Cory Oliver with the Coriolis Effect, and today I want to talk a little bit about one of our sponsors, flightsport.com. We feel blessed enough to have this company as one of our sponsors. They're a great company. They're faith-based. It's flightsport.com. They have many, many, many supplements. They have t-shirts. They have clothing. But these are some of my favorite products that I've been using for almost a year. I started using them during COVID, and I'm taking them still. This is the Super Greens, which is yummy. Bob, it's yummy.
Try it right now.
I'm going to take it right now.
Okay.
You take literally a capful, and it tastes great, and you're getting your daily supplement of greens, and it's so good. Your body craves it, oddly
Really?
enough. Yes. Like I drink mine after my meal in the morning, and I feel so good. Wow, you're just getting a ton of stuff. All your reds. Beetroot juice, blueberry extract, papaya, fruit jack, organic raspberry leaf. Raspberry is very good for you.
As are the
all
other
of the other things.
ingredients.
Sour cherry fruit, which is kind of tastes like that. Cranberry, it's good for your kidneys. Cranberry fruit juice. Elderberry, that's excellent for your immune system. Pomegranate, it's just filled. It's packed with a punch, a Reds punch. So I can't say enough about this. This will give you a little bit of energy, and you're getting your Reds in it. I highly recommend flightsport.com. All in one swoop. I mean, that was took me less than a minute to get all the good stuff.
And that's once a day?
And once a day, yeah. And they've got a lot of different products, so I encourage you to just visit their site and check them out. And they're wonderful people.
And how would they find them?
They're at flightsport.com. I'm tongue-tied, so flightsport.com.
Let's start the show.
That's great.
Let's start. Welcome to the Coriolis Effect. Oh my goodness, we have Anna Elizabeth in the studio today, who is the, yeah, that's our clap, who is the founder of Smart Conservatives on YouTube. And your show is also on Roku TV, Facebook, Insta, and Twitter.
Yeah.
And you are blowing it up, girlfriend.
Thank you.
I'm telling you, you are considered the media darling of the Conservative Political Action Conference, CPAC.
Thank you.
You just got back. We can't wait to hear all about that.
But
first,
we do a word of the day.
Okay.
And lately they're all about phobia. So we're going to play nobody knows what they are. So see if you know what this word is.
Okay.
Arachibutyrophobia.
Can you do it again?
Yeah.
It sounds like spider.
Arachibutyrophobia.
Iraqi what?
Arachibutyrophobia.
I have no idea. I would say fear of beautiful spiders. I have no idea.
that's actually a good
That's what I would say because arach, but no, it's not.
I would say the fear of peanut butter.
That's because you know what it is.
I do.
Yeah, okay. All right. We are never telling you the words before.
I wouldn't. But it is the fear of peanut butter, which is,
I didn't know there was such a thing.
oddly
there's a
enough.
fear of everything.
Yeah, so welcome, Anne.
Thank
We are
you.
excited to have you today. I
Thank
want
you
to
for
find
having
out
me.
all about your trip to CPAC. And, it's big news.
Yeah.
It's hard to get big news nowadays, right? Because
Yeah.
there's so much of it.
Yeah.
We're inundated.
Yeah.
So let's just start right off and jump right into it. Tell
Okay.
us about your trip to CPAC.
Well, it was eventful. It was fun. I got to meet a lot of people and interview a lot of people that I just
To name a few.
adored. I interviewed my pillow guy, Mike Lindell.
Mike Lindell.
So that was pretty cool.
When this show's over, talk to my wife. She loves him.
Does she?
Wow.
Mainly because of his business.
I love my
pillow. We just got the towels.
I just got the Giza sheets. I was saying how comfortable they were.
I love this.
And then I got to meet Jim Jordan, Tommy, Lauren.
That was who we said we wanted to get on the show.
Well, we think
She's
you guys
so
are
amazing.
like twins. You guys are beautiful. Both
I
beautiful.
have to tell you, it was really funny. So many people stopped me and said, "That's Tommy." And they were like elbowing each other. And I just kind of got like a little giggle out of it. But, I just kept walking.
Did you sign
I'm not Tommy.
Did you sign autographs as Tommy?
No.
Oh, she's Anne Elizabeth.
I know,
We're
but
conservatives.
I did meet her, though.
Oh, nice.
And in a picture, we don't look anything alike. But someone full on came up to me and started having a conversation with me at one point, and I was just like, I'm not Tommy, right? It was funny.
Wow.
But it was a good time. I also interviewed Ian Smith from the gym in New Jersey.
Yes.
So there were some cool interviews. I did some great interviews. A lot of Congress people running for Congress. So
Which will all be on your Smart Conservatives YouTube.
Yep. Mostly Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, which are all Anne Elizabeth SC or Anne Elizabeth US. So
Okay, and so tell me a little bit about, because I often wonder, you're shaking your head at me? Oh,
no, I'm looking at things.
I often wonder what the security, I know you can't go into total details, but that's not an easy conference to get into. They're tight security there. What did you have to kind of go through to make sure that you were...
No, I didn't have to go through much. I registered that morning. If you were wearing your badge, as long as you had your temperature check and your health screening, you were good to go. Walk through. There were people everywhere making sure that you did have those things. But so if you have that, it's easy to walk in and out. But if you don't, you can't even get into the hotel without it. So,
Right. Sure.
Or the conference center.
That's another fact, by the way. They're coming after the hotel. Was it Hilton?
Hyatt.
So
Yeah, it
they're
was
going
nice
after
of
Hyatt for allowing that convention. And Hyatt said, hey, we allow anybody.
Oh, wow.
Right.
I was
You
aware.
say, you're quoted as saying, let's redefine the Republican Party, out with the old and in with the new.
Yeah.
Tell me how you see the new, what you see that looking like.
Well, I think the old blood is what we typically know as the career politician, they call it the rhino, establishment, in it for the politics. And the politics are, heavy between the Democrats and the Republicans. They seem to almost have this little agreement that they all side with each other on the top. That's the impression that I get. Whether that's accurate or not is another story. I think that's safe to say that that's what we mostly think about that. But we need a new blood. There's, these younger generations coming up that just think the Republican Party is just, old. And it is. You have the squad on the left, and it is a new blood of the left. Now, I don't particularly, agree with the left, squad politics, but they are redefining the Democratic Party. And so the right needs to redefine theirs. People like Marjorie Greene, of course her name's escaping me, but she's the 3rd District, Colorado. What's her name? Lauren Boebert.
Yes.
She's incredible. So just some, louder mouthed, not career politicians, but regular people who, they walk in other people's shoes. They live a real life. They might be the single parent. They might be, the police officer, or, just regular people running for office that know about real life. And I think that's what we need, a new breed in the Republican Party, just regular people. And the squad part of it is, if we don't like what, these rhinos are doing, we can literally hold back our votes the way you see AOC hold back her votes from Nancy Pelosi if she doesn't like what they're doing. So we need enough of those people, I feel like, on the right to really make a change.
We also need a bigger demographic of minorities.
Yeah, and you definitely see that.
It's happening.
You saw that at CPAC. The diversity of people running for office already. I mean, it's huge.
Okay.
And so 2022, I think, is going to be a big year of redefining the Republican Party.
I think so too. Honestly, I think I might have talked about this a little bit before on a previous show, but I am a little older than you. But I have a 21-year-old daughter, and when she was in school, I was fortunate enough to take a field trip with her to Washington, and I stood on the Battle of Gettysburg, and I signed the Declaration of Independence, a copy of it. And it brought history to life for me.
Yeah.
And I don't see how we can just erase history, which is what everybody wants to do.
Yeah.
Instead, we should embrace it and move forward.
You know what? Do what I did. You send them to Philadelphia. I grew up in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And when I grew up, Independence Hall was open.
Mm-hmm.
There weren't tours. You could at that time go in and sit on the chairs where they signed the Declaration of Independence in the same room. Yeah, in the same room where they argued the Constitution. Sit in that room and then come out and say America's a horrible place. It's just you're overwhelmed.
Yeah. Well, I think you've made a lot of good points, and I went over all of your videos and your information. And you had said, you said to call on Governor Newsom, L.A. Mayor Garcetti, and Barbara Ferrer to give up their salaries to restaurant workers. As a single mom, you touched on that a minute ago. I'm a single mom. I was a single mom for my daughter's entire childhood. And that there were tough times.
Yeah.
And, there's a lot of tough times in the last year, right? We've been masked, we've been silenced, we've been quarantined, we've been told one thing, and there's 10 other things that come in, the opposing view on that, right?
Yeah.
With all these texts and emails, and we're inundated.
Yeah.
And so I loved what you said, because it calls people to the mat to actually do what they want us to do. Tell me a little bit about where that stemmed from for you.
With the lockdowns and calling out the governor, you mean? Well,
you're bold and brave, and I love that.
Thank you.
For whatever. If you're going to stand for something, do it well, right? And you're doing that.
Thank you. I just thought it was terrible that they were calling for these lockdowns. I mean, they lifted the lockdowns when we were 3 times the numbers of coronavirus in the hospitals than when they started the lockdowns. So that just tells you a little bit about, I just think it was a very political move. It was done at the end of November, right before Christmas. And restaurant workers, that's a modest income for a lot of people. And, it doesn't only affect the restaurant workers, it also affected, the whole supply chain. So, garbage disposal,
trucking,
farming,
with food.
Trucking,
yes, absolutely.
Distributors, all of it gets affected. But we really saw, and these restaurants that, invest thousands of dollars in, plexiglass dividers and all these, precautionary things that they put in place to make sure that it is safe dining for people who want to go out and sit outside, and dine. And, it was just, I thought, just a bold, just disgusting move, really. And it was a political move by Governor Newsom and Mayor Garcetti and Barbara Ferrer, whose salaries obviously will not be affected. I believe that Governor Newsom makes $100,000 a month.
A month?
Yeah. Not being the governor, just with all of his businesses.
Okay.
And his wineries didn't close, and that should be noted.
Really?
And then, because this was the LA lockdown.
Right.
And then Mayor Garcetti makes $20,000. And Barbara Ferrer makes almost $40,000 a month. So what I said was, let's, you're putting people out of work, so stand in solidarity.
So put your money where your mouth is.
Yeah.
Yes.
And put your money where your mouth is, and stand in solidarity with the very people whose jobs you're, taking, basically.
And what do you have to say? I know that there's a lot of controversy right now because Governor Newsom is under a potential recall, and there have been 1.5 or 1.7
1.875 at this point. That was the last count that I heard.
Million signatures to
Have
do
you been
that.
verified yet?
I think they're still in the process
Okay.
of that.
Bob, was that a joke or not?
No, that's serious.
We're
'Cause-
very
No,
funny
they are.
on this show, but we were just talking about this before you came in, and how they don't want to verify the votes for the actual
Right.
presidency, but they do want to verify them for the governor.
Isn't that funny? Oh,
California.
that's a great point.
And Newsom said, no mail-in votes.
Right.
Because he can't trust them.
So we're just trying to figure out, who makes the rules? How are we going to continue to follow the rules, right? I mean, they seem to change on a day-by-day basis. Because when that paper circulated to recall Gavin Newsom, it started with 1 million votes. Then it went, they needed 1.5. Now they need 2, or I don't even know.
Well, the Recall Newsom organization wants 2 million, so that if there are any discrepancies, they have an extra 500,000 to fall back on. So, I mean, it's pretty much, foolproof at that point. The first recall was sent in, and I mean, there's some different stories that they, it wasn't certified, or it wasn't, or they lost it and they said, we never got it, so they had to do the second recall. And I think they did things correctly this time to be assured that everything was going to be delivered, signed, sealed, and delivered perfectly. So that's why they're doing 2 million.
Wow. Well, we'll see. I don't know. I mean, it just keeps climbing up, right?
Well, the problem is the governor then has to schedule the election for the recall, and then that's another, like, I want to say 90 days or 6 months later, he can. I don't know when his term is, but he'll stall it out to the end of his term.
Yeah.
I'm going to just backtrack a little bit, because you were a model in New York, and you came to Los Angeles, and then you kind of transitioned and are now a host. You're hosting your own show, Smart Conservatives, on Roku and Facebook and Instagram. Tell us a little bit about your journey and who you are, where you came from, just all the good stuff.
Well, I was originally, I have a background in journalism, communications, and radio, TV, film in college. But then I moved to New York City, where it's really impossible to start in New York City in journalism, because that's where, like, after you've, done the Fresno market, or, like, the small town market, you then graduate to these bigger markets, and then eventually you make it to New York. So starting in New York was just very difficult unless I wanted to work a camera, which that wasn't my dream job. So then I went into sales, because communications was my major, and I'm obviously outspoken. So I had a great sales career, but then I was presented with an opportunity to do some sports reporting, which I did.
For who?
For a friend. They have a sports blog called Sports 911, and it just gives, like, they interview people, it gives odds and stuff like that. But anyway, it gave me the opportunity to interview, like, Magic Johnson and Kobe Bryant, which was a great one.
There's a height difference with you and Magic Johnson, huh?
Oh my gosh, yeah. And then even, like, people walking the red carpet, so, Paris Hilton, and stuff like that, who were going to these events. So it was pretty cool, because I got to get into entertainment. And then I became a stay-at-home mom. I did do some modeling. Oh. I actually played football for the Lingerie Bowl, which was really cool. It was when Jenny McCarthy did it.
We'll probably be inserting a video from that.
Yeah, what year and what team? What team were you on?
It was 2006. I was Dallas Desire. No, we didn't make it into the final, so it wasn't on the Super Bowl. I did the halftime show.
Oh, there's a video of it somewhere.
I'm sure.
It is on YouTube. Okay. But it was so much fun, and I have no regrets from back in those days. I was young. I was having fun. Center.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow, she's tough.
Yeah.
It was tough.
You're amazing.
And it was full contact, like hardcore football.
With very little padding.
Yeah, we had padding up here. We had helmets.
Shoulder pads and helmets, right?
Shoulder pads and helmets. It was pretty cool, though. I got knocked the first time, and I realized that...
Had you had your children?
Not yet.
Okay.
No. So right after that is when I got married, and a year later started
having kids. You have?
4.
What?
I do.
If you're just listening on the Apple podcast, I'm sitting here looking at this beautiful woman who is like, I can't believe you had 4 children.
I do.
Oh my gosh, God bless you. I mean, 1 is like, but 4.
Yeah, it's tough.
I'm sorry. I'm Italian, so I move my hands a lot, so I've got to keep them here.
That's right. I'm from Jersey.
I only have
really? Where in Jersey?
Monmouth County.
Oh, I'm from Philadelphia.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Well, Pennsylvania.
I'm used to the hand talking. That's probably how I talk too.
What are the ages of your children? Just curious.
5, 9, 11, 14. 9 is my only girl.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. So going back to the beginning for you, and I'm just getting to know you. How were you directed towards the Republican Party? Were you raised in a Republican home? Is this a generational thing?
It is. And my father was much, much, much older when I was born. He was older, and he married a younger woman. And so my dad is a World War II veteran.
Oh,
he's 94 years old, my father. So when I say he's much older, he's much older.
He's currently 94?
He's currently 94, and he's, and my only regret is I didn't, write the president and get him in front of the president to get a medal while he was in presidency. But he's still alive and well. And
thank you, Dad, for your service. We thank you.
Thank you.
Aww.
Yeah. So I was raised in just a household of patriotism, and my parents just taught me well about the value of this country and what people fought for and died for and what's important. And so that's something that I'll always be a part of. And I am a true patriot. I think it's because of my roots.
And being a Republican and being a true patriot, you know, the Republicans kind of get a bad rap. They are inclusive people,
Absolutely.
a group of inclusive people, all races, gender, everything. They really are.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that how your dad raised you?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And, you know, growing up, you know, I think that, you know, there were people that you knew that there was, you know, somewhat racism. We kind of saw that lift, I feel like, really start to be, you know, more of an inclusive society. Because I do feel like there used to, well, everybody was inclusive. It was a little bit, you would hear
Segregation.
echoes of, well, not that old. But, you know, that you would hear people talk, you know, in groups almost.
Yes.
But I really saw, you know, my parents never raised me to see that, you know.
Yeah.
And so I feel blessed that I was raised, you know, in a very open-minded environment. But these days, you know, I feel like what we see going on, I actually turned on a cable news station recently, and I hadn't listened to the cable news station in a while. I just couldn't stomach it. At a certain point, I turned it off, but I was just curious. So I turned it on, and my jaw, like, was on the floor. I had to, like, pick it up. How far gone they have become with this white supremacy and this narrative that is just so false. I mean, it couldn't be farther from the truth. I've been to easily over 100 Trump rallies, and I've never once met a white supremacist or a neo-Nazi or anything like that. But I just thought, if people really believe this, and this is how far they've taken people to like actually believe that that pretty much all of the right or white supremacists or neo-Nazis of some sort. I mean, we're in a really scary place.
Well,
But
first of all, I don't think the newscasters believe it.
Nobody
but they are
does.
very aware that if you say it enough times, it becomes true to the world.
Yeah.
And that they just say it. So most of the people that listen to those newscasts do not listen to conservative newscasts. So all they hear it, and it's almost like parental alienation. They hear it 1,000 times. You're going to say, okay, if you're a Republican, you're a racist because that's what I've heard.
Yeah.
And that's all I've heard.
I don't think any of the newscasters, I mean, they're all part of the agenda. I think they have to know better. But here's what I want to say to the people who watch those and actually repeat that narrative. Shame on you. Because you know your neighbor, you know your friend, you know your family member, and you know better than that they are not what those people say that they are. And if you're actually buying that narrative and pushing it, then shame on you.
Well, you bring up a very good point, and we talked about this too, and that is, you know, there's really no other election that I've been privy to in my 7 years that I've seen such a great divide with your neighbor, your family, your friends. I've never seen this before, ever. And that was really the main reason to do this show, even though it's taken many turns on this show with all kinds of different guests, was to create a platform of unity, to come back together so that whatever you want to call it, the enemy, Satan, darkness, however, media, can't divide us. Yeah. Because divided, we fall.
Yeah. Can I have this?
Yes.
Yeah, no, that's for you. Yes. That's one of our sponsors.
That is yours. So, you know, I think that's the whole issue. And, you know, I have a daughter who's in college, and, you know, we talk a little bit about this. And, you know, a lot of the colleges, I did a movie about it. They're really good at indoctrinating your children. You know, I've spent 18 years pouring into her, and then all of a sudden it can be 1 year, and they're, whoa, wait a minute, that's not actually what happened. Remember? We took the field trip. So your kids, you have teenagers. I
have one, yeah.
Right. And so how are you helping navigate their lives and keeping them on a track? I don't, you know, whether it's right or left, it's a track, right?
Yeah.
On the right track.
Well, my children all, you know, are being raised with the same values that I raised my children with. My husband was also raised with similar values as me. Good patriotic, you know, family, and we're raising our children to know history, to know, you know, the truth. They see me, you know, trying to dispel narrative, so they actually, you know, hear me talk about how the news maybe said this, but here's what's real. And so I think they're able to see through, the BS. Can I say that?
Oh, yeah.
The BS. So
That's an abbreviation.
yeah, I know it is.
What's it stand for?
So I would
I
like
love
to say
you.
the
Hey,
real
Cory,
thing.
what's that stand for?
It means beauty, simple. I don't know.
My neighbor, getting to the point of your neighbors and everything, the narrative, people, they're trying to say that Donald Trump caused a divide. Well, really, I mean, by only covering Donald Trump in a negative light, never showing anything good that he did, is really what's caused the divide. They have people hating him so much. My neighbors, right after the election, my neighbor happens to be head of the HOA, very liberal, sent me a letter to please take down my Trump flag. It's not really supposed to be hanging or whatever, and sent it by the HOA on HOA letterhead, and it was. I said to some of the other HOA people, "Well, the Biden flag is still up there, and there." And
But that's okay.
yeah, and they said he sent that, like that's not even, you're allowed to fly that, like, so the other members of the HOA were very upset about it. But I was even getting some censorship from my neighbor, and there's other neighbors that we just really don't talk anymore, and it's just sad because
Yes.
we should be able to have a communication, come to the table and communicate about what we agree or disagree with, and if we don't, then we should be able to still be friends and just not talk about politics. But
Absolutely.
what the news has been very successful in doing, the media, is just driving that wedge and making sure that, and this is where the narrative of their hateful, all Trump supporters are hateful, call them white supremacists, call them hate, call them, whatever you want to call them, but they're bad people, is where they have really put that narrative at this point. And so my neighbors don't want to talk to me anymore because they just think I'm this hateful person. I'm not. And neither is the Republican Party. I mean, talk about a party of diversity.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if CPAC didn't show that, all the Trump rallies I attended did.
Well, to your point right there, I'll jump in. If CPAC didn't show that, they do. It's just getting it into the mainstream media is the problem. And I again, I'm inclusive. I know how I was raised and my views, but I think we should all, right and left, be concerned when you are being censored and you are being, you don't have freedom of speech. You're told to take your flag down, with whatever side it is, right? I think that's a problem, and it's just beginning.
Yeah.
And so how do you navigate, your site, your show, in this media-driven world where we're trying to get seen and heard, but only if you're, on the left, you're going to get some mainstream. What do you say to that? How do we combat that?
Well, I do what I can. I put out what I can. I hope I reach people. I just do the best I can. It's really all you can do. On Facebook, I accept my people from all sides unless they seem like they're completely radical about it and that they're never going to listen. I vet people, but I do allow people to come to my page and argue respectfully. The second they get out of line and start calling names and stuff, I get rid of them because my page is a place for respectable debating. But that being said, I hope that I'm reaching people, and I do know that I'm making points because, people do learn, okay, you know what? Obviously, by her page, she's not what, the media is teaching us. So I just feel like if everyone would just start, posting the truth on their page, I just think that that's the strongest thing that we can do. So many people are afraid of that.
Do you have a problem with fact checking or anybody's Instagram?
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Do your posts get labeled or?
Yes.
I feel like respectable debating, that was a good comment you just made, respectable debating.
Yeah.
That has been going on for centuries, right? There's called debate teams.
Yeah.
I mean, my daughter went to a school where they had real big debates on big issues, and there's no respect.
No.
There's debating, and then there's, hey, I'm not going to listen to you. I'm done with you.
Yeah.
And there used to be division, but now it's a severance.
Yes.
Relationships are being severed, and that's where it starts to really make me sad. Bob knows. He's like, just going to reach for the tissue. But I don't like to see relationships ruined, whether it's mother, daughter, husband, wife, family, friends, brother, sister. And that's what's happening. And I don't know. I love what you're doing. You're giving a platform where people can come in and respectfully debate and still walk away and love one another and be unified instead of divided.
I try.
You do. And I think, people will find a way to hammer it home but you're trying. You're really trying. I mean, you're getting on planes and you're flying, to Florida to try to interview people, which you did. You interviewed some big names in the GOP. Can you talk a little bit about those? I'm segueing into that because we talked about it before we were on the air, but now we're rolling, and I'd love to know some of the interviews that you.
I spoke to, Rayla Campbell was a great one. She was in Washington, D.C. in November for the Stop the Steal rally, the first one. And she was walking back to she was at the time, she had run for Congress in Massachusetts. She was walking back to her hotel, and we probably heard this story on the news. She was jumped by a bunch of Antifa and Black Lives Matter activists. Now, she herself is Black, and she was being called a racist, and she actually said she was being called a white supremacist, which I find so interesting. But they started to really, attack her, and it got scary. And then they started to try to separate her from her children and take her children away from her.
With her?
Yeah, she had 3 kids with her. And they were just enjoying, a day at a Trump rally. It was like you said, it's a very positive environment. It's a very loving environment. We are all together, all inclusive, all one. And then she's walking back, and and this is the fault of the narrative. People think she's somebody else because they've been taught that all these people who believe in this are bad people. So now she's being attacked by people with a false narrative. But eventually a homeless person and the police eventually come to her and her family's aid, her husband and she, and the kids, and they get the kids back together, and they safely escort her back. But that story was really profound for me. So that was a great interview. She's now running for governor of Massachusetts. So, but I also was able to interview Ian Smith from the gym in New Jersey.
Right, the one who stayed open when they kept telling them to shut down.
They're still open. I think he gets fined about $11,000 a day. It was either $11,000 or $15,000 per day that he stays open to date since October. And he is fantastic. He just has not backed down, and he's still going strong, and he's not going to back down. So
it'll be interesting to see if those fines hold up, because normally if you break the law and there's got to be a fine, it's got to be a stated fine somewhere. Yeah. You can't just make up numbers of fines.
Yeah.
And technically, that has to either be passed by the local government or the state. So the governor or the mayor just can't say, well, I'm going to fine you $10,000. And he says, okay, where in the law does it say I have to pay this money?
Well, I don't know, but I believe it. The governor is Governor Murphy, and he's very far left, and it's possible that it was from the health department. I'm not really sure who.
Well, no, that's fine, but there has to. It's like a ticket. You get a ticket. There's a schedule. You ever drive in Pennsylvania? They have these signs on the roads. If you go from 65 to 75, it's this much. 75 to 85, it's this much. So the amount of the fine must be codified somewhere. And I doubt there's a $10,000 a day fine that's codified, that's been passed by that legislature.
Yeah. Codified is our new word for tomorrow.
You're using some pretty big SAT words.
Codified is...
I'm like, oh, wow.
Well, I just took them last week.
Can we have on the screen the
codified, it's in the law. It's in the books. It's part of the code.
Right.
It's where you codify.
Okay, so yes, that's
it's on
perfect.
the screen in front of you, the definition.
Okay.
Well, Bob and I were talking about this before, to your point. I had seen a video on Instagram of a girl pulling through a drive-through coffee place. I won't say the name of it. To get a coffee, and she's videotaping it. She's like, watch this. I don't know if you've seen it. I just got it today. And she says to the guy, she pulls up and he says, I can't give you your coffee unless
it's a friend of mine.
She is?
Yeah.
I
really?
love her.
She does all the Beverly Hills.
Okay, but she's amazing because she didn't show him, and she was respectful not to show him, but she says to him,
Well, tell the story for the audience.
She pulls through a drive-through. She has she's getting a cup of coffee, and she does not have a mask on because she's in her car, and she's clearly 6 feet away from the drive-through guy. And he says to her, I will not, do you have a mask? Can you put your mask on, ma'am? And she says, I don't have a mask. And he says, well, I'll give you a mask. And she says, well, if you can give me a mask, why can't you just give me my coffee?
Yeah.
And he says, ma'am, I can't do that. And literally, he would not do that. And to me, I'm not trying to to out anybody or, make any establishment look bad. It's just crazy. There's no other word for it other than it seems so unrealistic to not give someone their coffee, but you can literally hand a mask over
We
to
talked
cover
about
themselves.
it, and what it is an employee following what the employer said to
Right.
do without thinking whether it made sense or not.
Well, but there's one thing that I had a problem with is that it's outdoor dining. It's while she's seated, which is legal.
She was in her car.
Yeah.
Yes.
And she was outside.
Yes.
And she was seated.
Yes.
And this is what, part of what the ruling says. As long as you're at your table seated,
Yes.
you don't need to be wearing a mask. So he's going to have a problem, and so will that organization. If she chose to go after them, she could legally with the grounds of the rules that the health department has set. So I think that was a very big fault of him, just being kind of a jerk because of his own beliefs of what he should have enforced on her.
And I mean, for me, it's just like you said, Bob. It's like common sense, Where I'm a germaphobe. I wear my mask when I go into a store. I'm complying. I am, but I'm not buying it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? And I'm probably going to get a lot of
pushback.
But it's not. Listen, like I said, I am a germaphobe. I actually work with my best friend's husband, who is a quadriplegic, and I'm allowed to talk about this on the air. He's immune compromised because he's just not able to get up and move around. I wear a shield. I cover myself. I'm not. I don't want to, infect anybody. I play by the rules. But what's happening is we are, as a society, getting weaker and weaker, and that's the goal. Like you said earlier, an agenda, right?
Yeah,
it's the agenda.
Absolutely.
And it's not good. And it's not good. And I mean, I could go on, but I'll leave that to you. Tell me, do your kids wear masks out when they're out and about? And is there a law? Because I don't know, it's conflicting in my world because I only have a 21-year-old, but you have young kids.
I don't enforce my kids to do it. They're little. I just they're at school. They've been at school since September through December, and then again when school came back from break from January till now. The whole first 4 months of 5 days in school.
Private or public?
5 days every day. It's private. 5 days every day. And by the way, I'm going to make a point to that the entire United States should take note of private schools because there have been no problems in private schools whatsoever. Right. 5 days a week from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. One kid got like a sniffle, tested positive for COVID, and they told that grade only to stay home for the rest of the week and reconvene the next week. So they did that, no problem. And then we had one in January as well, no problems. And they gave actually that class the option to stay home and remote learn or keep going, it's up to you. And no spread in the family, no spread in the home, no spread.
And both kids are fine.
Everybody's fine. So, I mean, and this is, the note that we should take. But as far as making my kids wear it, I just know that how kids are affected. I don't believe that it's necessary. I don't feel like they're super spreaders. The CDC itself has said if you are, not having symptoms, you're probably not contagious. And so,
but when this all started, Fauci said it wasn't great. It wasn't a great idea to wear a mask.
Yeah, I remember that.
8 hours a day.
Yeah, it's too much.
Yet we're all masked.
And by the way, now they're all saying we got to get the kids back in school.
Yeah.
Right. Well, that's
the
just
election's
way
over
too long.
But I will say that if someone, if people want my kids to wear masks, I put them in masks.
Sure.
I'm not going to.
Right.
Well, if you go to the grocery store, they're going to wear a mask, right?
Yeah, I do. I don't feel like arguing with you. I'm just not an argumentative person, and it's really so I have to wear a mask for like 20 minutes. Big deal, to me. But some people want to make a point that we shouldn't be doing this, and I totally stand behind that too. So.
How do you feel about? And you don't have to answer this. I know how I feel, and I'll answer any question you have for me. But how do you feel about inoculations with your children? And this there's 3 different. Within a year they've come out with Pfizer vaccination, a Moderna vaccination. Now we're looking into possible. Well, it is the FDA has approved it. The Johnson & Johnson vaccination. Yeah. How do you feel as a parent when they tell you, when you hear? I'm sure people have said they're not going to be able to go to school unless they're inoculated or get on a plane unless they're inoculated.
That's just California. I mean, California's crazy with vaccines anyway.
But the good thing about private school, because my daughter went to private school, and they tried to make us get the whooping cough vaccination, and we were at private school, so I could sign off that she didn't need that, and she was fine. It was just.
I did have to do that as well with one of mine to keep them in school, but the other ones all have grandfathered into 7th grade, so we'll have to figure things out by 7th grade. But what I will say to that is the same thing that I just said, that kids are not going to be affected by it, or they haven't been affected by it. So why am I gonna shoot them with something that's been so under tested?
Yeah.
So no, I'm not gung ho on the vaccine for kids, and I think I would live under a bridge and lose everything I own before try to figure out how to farm on my own. Before I'd put my kids, through the vaccine. That's just me, but to each his own. If you have your kids vaccinated, then you don't have to worry about my kids, right?
Right. Well,
although now they're saying get the vaccine. By the way, you're still wearing masks for the next year.
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense.
What happened to 99% effective?
It's agenda and compliance, and they want to see who's going to comply and who's not. And I just feel like it's like a whole agenda to just, keep us compliant.
Well, I will go ahead and date myself and say that, I know you keep saying that nobody else will date me.
She's so beautiful. Honestly.
You're so sweet.
You are.
So sweet. You're too kind. But I come from the era where we stood up every day.
Yeah. Aww.
It does.
Same thing, yeah.
Because we stood up every day and said the Pledge of Allegiance, and we crossed our hands on our hearts. And I sat in classrooms that they did pull people together, and it was every race, every religion, but we all stood for one thing: united we stand, right? And when I saw that leave the schools, it broke my heart. Literally did, and it still does, and it brings me to this moment because. It has to start with some kind of foundation. And, our forefathers went through things for a reason and years ago. And we're breaking and dismantling a foundation. And I don't understand why. I know that there's a lot of, reasons that people are presenting.
Yeah.
But they're not holding up in general. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. It was, you just said, united we stand. So tell me the next part.
I pledge allegiance to the flag.
United we stand.
One nation.
Divided
we fall. Yes, divided we fall. Yes,
I think that's the most important part.
Yes.
And that's what this is all about.
You're absolutely right. Those are two sentences that have been both sides, right? Yeah. And if we don't do something to rectify this.
Well, that was Lincoln, though. A divided house cannot stand.
Yeah.
And that's been part of our nation.
Yeah. And my kids' schools still say the Pledge of Allegiance every day. Good. They pledge to the Bible, and they pledge to Jesus. So I mean, it's a Christian school.
Yes, so, my daughter went to a Christian school as well, and it's and that's not to say I'm inclusive of all these religions. I have my religion. I believe in what I believe. I was raised a Christian, but we're really pushing the envelope right now, and it's getting ugly, I will say, for the lack of a better term. And that's not what God wants. Yeah. He doesn't. No.
And this whole thing with the national anthem and kneeling, and so it's all part of the agenda, and everyone it's just more narrative. It really is more narrative, and you just see the masses follow, and they give them the talking points, and they give them the arguing points, and now everybody is just at that point where they think, everyone on the left that they need to kneel, and everyone on the right stands strong with their hand. It's division. It's division. And they did it so well these last 4 years on purpose, because a united nation elects an incumbent.
Yes.
And a divided nation, looks for somebody new. So, we were a very strong nation. It was their job to keep us divided, and they did a good job.
And I don't understand how people don't see that.
It's hard to understand, isn't it?
Yeah, well, especially with the talking points, because you watch a newscast where they string together in one day. Every newscaster around the world on the left says the exact same words. How is that not coming from the top? How do you not see that there's one or two or three guys up top saying, say this word about that? And they use and it's not always everyday common words.
Well, it's the constant saying of the same thing over and over. If you go, read psychology books about brainwashing, it's right there. Right. Saying the same thing over and over. And then they had us locked down 24/7, tuned in with coronavirus. So then the brainwashing was thick and strong. I do not watch the news, but if you go turn on CNN and take a challenge to watch it for 30 days, I can't stomach it for
30 minutes.
Yeah, I can't stomach it for more than 30 minutes or 30 seconds maybe. But if you did it for 30 days, I think you might start just, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't suggest it.
No, I get it.
But I just feel like
don't stare at the sun.
People are so far into the narrative. And then the best part is people on Facebook will then quote something that they heard on the news, the exact same talking point that they gave back, and then they'll Google something to back it up. And I'm like, blah. You really didn't just do that whole thing, did you? Like, you really think that Google is going to tell me that, this is right because they said so after you just spouted out the false narrative?
Right. Very good friend of mine, a couple of years ago, we were talking. It was about Trump, and she said, well, Trump's a racist. I said, okay. What has he done? Well, everybody just knows he's a racist. Tell me one thing that he's done that makes me, well, we just all know it. And we went for 5 minutes, and she could not come up with one example. It was, well, I just know he's a racist.
Okay, let me tell you what Joe Biden has done. First of all, there's nothing that you can come up with that Trump is a racist. Right. Because if you watch the full feed, if you read the lawsuit, there's one lawsuit that people say, like back in the 60s, that a management company who worked for, that Trump owned, the management company actually said something to somebody about screening people for welfare who come in. And I actually think that this is racist, that the media pushes this, assuming that anyone on welfare is black. I think that's racist. But they said that was a racist statement. If you go to the actual lawsuit, everybody they interviewed, nobody really thought that they were being racially profiled. Again, Trump had nothing to do with it. Right. It was a management company and somebody in the management company from that. But
they were managing one of Trump's apartment complexes.
So that, dispel immediately. Play the full feed about what happened in Virginia with
Toronto.
Yeah. Right. Play the full feed on anything. Go to the source. You can't find it. Right. You can't find anything that he's ever done that's racist. But I can tell you what Joe Biden's done. He fought against segregation. He fought for segregation. Right. And he fought to keep segregation. And he used the words, I don't want my kids growing up in a racial jungle. He wrote the 1994 crime bill, which directly
it increased prison sentences for drugs that were more commonly used by minorities. Yeah. When the same drug in a different form used by Caucasians, lesser prison sentences.
Yeah. Right. I mean, he went straight after the race, right. Itself. He had the opportunity under Obama to revisit that. He didn't. Then he said, you ain't black. And just last week, he said that, people who are black and Hispanic don't know how to use the internet. Mm-hmm. I mean, how insulting. So he's been a proven racist, but again, the narrative has really built this wall around people's brains to make them think that Trump, who has no background of any sort of racism, is racist. And so are all of his supporters. Cool. And Biden, who has done all these things on record, is not. It's just amazing.
It was either the New York Times or New York Post 2 years ago where the owner said, because Russia had just been dispelled, and he said, okay, next year and a half, everything's about race. And he told all his reporters, whatever happens, we make it about race. Somebody recorded it. It got out to the news. It was a big story for a week. Then everybody forgot about it. And then the next year and a half, everything was about race because they knew if they could do that, they have a much better chance of winning the election. And it worked.
Yeah, because if you play on people's emotions and make people angry, it motivates them. Right. That's the big motivator. It's just disgusting, really. Honestly, it's horrible. And I just wish people could wake up. I wish there was something I can do to be like, wake up, snap out of it.
Have you ever seen the movie with Cher and Nicolas Cage, Moonstruck?
I think
she literally says, smacks him and says, snap out of it. That's how I hear that over and over again.
I do feel like they're under a spell. It's weird.
I don't know. I do know that God has a plan. Yeah. And I also know that victory will be his. Because it's in his word, right? Mm-hmm. And he says, delight yourself in the Lord and he'll give you the desires of your heart. Mm-hmm. And, I believe there's one God, right? He created us all. Yeah. And I think I don't know, so I'm speculating, but I would think as a parent myself, he's probably going, cringing a little bit that we're not all getting along and we're not loving one another, right? Mm-mm. And being inclusive and embracing either your differences or, your thoughts or views. We're really just shutting people off. Oh, you're a Republican, we're going to shut you off. You're a Democrat, we're going to shut you off. Mm-hmm. Instead of, like you said, and this is a perfect example. Maria Shriver and our former governor, Arnold Schwarzenegger, they were married for however many years, and it wasn't their politics that brought them down, right?
No,
It was not. They managed to be in love, and they still actually, I know them, they
have
still
good
love and
relationship.
respect each other very much.
That's
So,
good.
and so, but I don't see that moving forward. I can't imagine two people dating right now that are Republican and Democrat and saying, hey, and that's the problem, the underlying problem, right? It's festering.
A first date in a minute.
That's right. I don't think you even get to it. And Bob's like, that's why you're, no one will date you. But I guess what I'm trying to say is, how do we collectively, not just in this room, but as a nation, approach this subject and stop the hate and stop the, just
the division,
the division, and
Mm-hmm.
bring people together, like you said, on whether it's your Facebook or your Instagram or your TV show, YouTube, Smart Conservatives. The name is not. It's not. You're not excluding conversation with the left,
No,
right?
I welcome it.
You welcome it, and that's what I love about you, is that you are inclusive and you're trying to make a difference, and you are.
I try. The one thing I tell people to do, just quite simply, is just turn off the news. The mainstream media is a complete marketing machine. They have a lot of psychologists. They have a lot of marketing people. They are spending a lot of money on convincing people of something. They have a strategy too. So turn off the news. If you turn off the news, then you're shutting that possibility down.
And think for yourself. I always tell my daughter, that check in your spirit that you have, that gut feeling.
That is it.
Go with your gut and think for yourself. If you feel like, this is just not right, I'm not believing what they're saying, fact check yourself. Don't believe something because someone says it.
Absolutely. But don't fact check on Google or getting an article from like Politico or Time Magazine or whoever. Fact check it by going to the source. But I always say use your brain. I mean, I end so many of my posts by use your brain. And if you can't use your brain, then use your heart, because deep down inside.
Deep down inside, God gave us that gift for a reason, huh? It's like your tongue is a rudder that guides your ship, right? Yeah. That's biblical. And be careful. We can speak things into existence. Be careful what you say. Yeah. I'm going to get all off on that whole diatribe, and I don't want to do that because this is about you, Anne Elizabeth, Smart Conservatives. You have a show on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Roku TV.
Okay. And then with Conservative Commandos Radio, I do, a radio show that airs in several California, Florida, somewhat up the East Coast, and some Nevada and Colorado markets. And my TV show is Northern California. But Roku at the moment has taken us down because it has the word conservative in it. So we've been censored from the television aspect of it for a little while.
I didn't know that, actually. I'm sorry.
The whole channel's down?
Yeah.
Because you can't have the word conservative.
Add that company to your list of censorship.
Oh, wow.
So,
sorry.
We're trying to figure out other means. I think I've heard Rumble is like the new kind of YouTube going up, but I'm not sure. But there again, we have division. We have the Republicans are going to trust these, the Democrats are going to trust these. Let's just have a conversation. Let's come together.
Which is taking away both sides' rights to freedom of speech.
It is.
So,
I don't see it happening anytime soon, though. I just think it's going to get worse.
Yeah. It will get a little bit worse before it gets better. But we're sure happy to have you here today.
Thank you.
And to share some of your story with
Thank
us.
you.
And I know you'll be airing some of those great interviews that you had at CPAC.
Yep.
And tell me just really quickly, were you just like, hey, honey, to your husband, I'm going to CPAC. I'm like,
did your husband go with you?
Okay, so
I love this. I love that you were there, and you are considered the media darling of CPAC. So
tell you.
Tell us how you ended up there. I'm going back to the beginning of this interview, but
well, I was not going to go because it was originally I was going to go, and then it was Mike Pence was like the main speaker, and I just wasn't that excited about it. And it was a long time to be away, and I said, I think I'm going to skip this year. It's in a different place. Everything with coronavirus and everything. It's just there's going to be a lot of rules, and it's going to be difficult. So whatever. I said no. And then on Sunday, and I'm very very open about the things I do to myself. I got a chemical peel. And I said to my manager, Roger Neal, I said, Roger, do not schedule me for anything on screen. Do not schedule me for anything this week. I am out. And then my radio show called, and all of a sudden Trump was speaking, and all of a sudden there was Ted Cruz, and there was all these other speakers, and Trump Jr. And so I said, he said, "Do you want to go? I have a media pass for you." And I said, "It's Tuesday. No, it's Monday." And I had just gotten a chemical peel. I was expecting to peel Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. I said, yes. I said, "I'm going to go." And within 24 hours, I packed my bags.
Good for you. I love it.
Booked my flight. I booked my hotel, and I was on a plane. And
wait, had you had the chemical peel already, or did you cancel it?
What's that?
Had you had the chemical peel?
I did.
Oh,
and so on the plane that morning, I started peeling and literally was like hiding behind a mask and a hat. That was a good thing about the mask.
Yeah.
That's the one place that served you well, right?
It did. And then Errol Weber, who ran for Congress, I mean, bless his heart, the first day of CPAC came up to me and I forgot. And I had my makeup on. I was just trying to moisturize as much as I could to keep the flakes, from coming out.
Your skin looks amazing, by the way. I'm
Thank
like, what
you.
did you do?
Thank you. And then he's talking to me and he's looking around. I'm like, gosh, what did I ever do to Errol? He's being so kind of like standoffish to me. And all of a sudden he's like, man.
The face is falling off.
And this is how I know he's a good friend. He's like, man. He's like, I'm like, oh. He's like, you need to go into the bathroom.
Faithful are the wounds of a friend, right?
Yes. I was like, thank God. That's all it is. I know. I got a chemical peel.
Funny.
He's like, you need something on your face. Yeah, he's great. He was really showing himself as a true friend.
So chemical peel and all you got on that plane.
I did, and then by the next day it was almost done, and then by Friday, the next day was Thursday. And that was really the first day of CPAC. I had a little dealing with on my forehead, but I just tried to keep it. And then Friday, I was good to go. So that's my long story. But anyway, my husband got the short end of the stick. He had to take care of all the kids. But he was good with it. And, those moments that make, your husbands appreciate you as a mom.
Yeah, right? It's actually your
Is your husband politically active? Or?
Not active, but he's, a good, strong patriot.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Now, going to the chemical peel for 1 second, because I've never done one, but I was a former hair and makeup artist for a show called The Home and Family Show, and some of our clients or my guests would come in and they had them, and I'm in the beauty industry myself, and I've never had one. Is it painful? Because I'm telling you, your skin looks flawless.
Thank you.
So I would not have known that you just had that because, I don't know the downtime and I'm not really familiar with.
It's nice. It feels like
what does it do? What is it?
It takes the first couple so I didn't do it like an extreme one, like resurfacing or anything like that. Just a light one. And it just peels off the first couple layers.
What do they
takes
use?
away really dark spots,
Chemicals.
which I have sunspots.
Okay, Bob.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I didn't ask it. I try to be organic, so when it comes to things like that, I can choose and I say, okay, you know what? I don't want to know what's in it.
Wow, your skin looks amazing though.
Thank you. I'm going to have another one in a couple weeks.
Okay, so you do a series of them.
Yeah.
I guess
so it takes away dark spots. And when I was pregnant,
will it take away these and these and this?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to I'm gonna exchange information at the end of the show because I'll go.
Yeah, I know.
We're gonna do an episode right after.
I would love to do it because as I age, I'm getting these little spots. I'm like, that was not there.
I know. It happens with pregnancy too. But Eric Early, who ran for Congress, his new wife, Emerald, she is a skin person. She does a lot of treatments, and I'd be willing to bet that she does them. So I'll get you her information because she's right in Beverly Hills. Yeah,
I'm just always nervous to burn anything. I've not done anything. I've literally only used vitamin E around my eyes. I've used minimal products. I'm not really, I have my own line of, balm, but they're real simple ingredients. And so I'm really cautious, but I'd love to know. I'd love to try something like that. It's really minimal invasive. Yeah, so you can tell. Safe. I can tell. Your skin looks great. You're beautiful. You're so sweet. So are you. You have the face for television. You're kind. We're just going on and on and on. We've been so political. I just thought this would be like a nice little transition because, the industry is brutal at times, right? And yes. And you do have to kind of keep up on all, the new and innovative things that they have. Currently, I have seen this wand that's like this red light. Have you seen that on Instagram? Is it like infrared or something? Yeah. And this woman's just like, you do this and it gets rid of your wrinkles. And I'm like, gosh, if I could just wave a wand over my face and get rid of, everything that is imperfect, that would be wonderful. But, sometimes you just don't know. You have to get it and see it for yourself. So yeah, I would be using that like every day. Tell me though, I know this is like, I'm just sitting across from you if you're just listening on the podcast, and you can't see Anne Elizabeth, the host of Smart Conservatives. You are tiny.
Thank
You're so
you.
beautiful, and
Thank
you are
you.
in shape, and you have 4
Thank you.
children.
4.
How difficult was that? I'm always in awe of Alec Baldwin's wife because she's got like 6 now, and she's like, she'll literally be cooking dinner. She's got a child on her back. She's got one on her hip, and she's literally going like doing a workout routine in her kitchen.
It's the 4th kid. The 4th kid is what puts you back in shape.
Is it?
I'm telling you, everybody I know that has 4 or more kids is like tiny.
Why is
I
that?
don't know. I don't think it's really true.
Do you have a
I think
really
it's
intense
genetic.
workout routine?
No, I'm getting my Peloton today though. It's arriving.
My neighbor
today.
has one, and she loves it.
It's arriving today at 4.
Okay, so
I'm
that's what
super
you do.
excited.
Okay, that's wonderful. So
But,
you've really done nothing. You just are
I
blessed.
run around after my children and I take my dog for a walk.
That's what it is.
So
okay.
yeah, my kids keep me very active.
Yeah.
So and you know,
Yeah,
probably the stress
the best
of the
exercise
election.
is hyperactive kids.
Right, you're just chasing
They
them
are.
around. Oh my
They
goodness.
certainly are.
That's so wonderful. Well, I tell this to people, and it's you already know this, but all my friends know I say this ad nauseum. Children spell love Time.
Oh,
And I am
That's
so
so
grateful that
nice.
I got to have the time with my child that she went off to college, but you still have young ones and they're at home, and you're so blessed because it's really just the time that they'll remember,
yeah.
not the video game, not the
Yes.
TikTok, not
Mhm.
anything.
Mm-hmm.
And not to say those are, but they
No, you're
really,
right.
it's the actual time you spend with them.
You are right. That's such a good saying. I've never heard that before. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's really true. And I inserted myself and continue to in my daughter's life at any moment possible.
That's awesome.
Every
Right?
moment
And
possible.
if
That's
you think you're
incredible.
hovering, then you're doing a great job.
Yeah.
Because, my friends would say, you need to land the helicopter. And to some degree I did, but it's
Yeah.
still a little bit, a little bit right here.
Yeah.
You're never going to stop being a parent, right?
No, I try to shelter mine. And people are like, you don't want to shelter your kids. Yeah, I do. I want to shelter my kids. There's too much out there right now.
I know. You're right. I mean, you really have to censor it, right? Because it's
Mhm.
just getting inundated with,
Yep.
And the Bible says, feast your eyes on things that are lovely, things that are noble, and things that are pure.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes some of those things that get in, we can contaminate their minds in a
Yeah.
way that we can't help them recover from.
Yeah.
So it is important to, have those dials on your kid's phone and whatever
Yes, it's true. It
computer
sure
they
is.
have, just because for their own good. They don't even
Yeah.
know it, but it's for their own good.
Yeah, I
right?
think the average age of when a child first sees pornography is 7 or 8.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Because of iPads and
Yeah, I mean, and
TikTok.
it's, right.
No, why don't they have parental controls?
they do.
That's what I was
That
just saying.
parents just don't set them?
But why
Or
does it help if someone uploads a video before it's been reported, and then
Oh, is that
they've
how they
seen
work?
it? Yeah.
Okay.
But also, and it's interesting because I my daughter was in water polo, and so I had 6 girls in the back of my car going to tournaments at any given weekend,
Mhm.
and I would say, "How come you guys aren't talking to each other?" And they're literally like, "We are,
They're
Mom."
all-
They're
They're
talking
texting each
to
other in the
on
car?
their
Yeah.
phone.
Texting each
And I was
other.
like, "Give me your phones. Give me your phones. You get in the
Yeah.
car. You get in their phone." And,
Yeah.
and so even though your child's phone might be censored,
Mm-hmm.
they can
Yeah,
just
they
hand
have
it over and then they
their
see
friends.
it. So
Yeah.
you're not, I'm telling you right now, you're doing it right. And censoring and protecting your children is not a bad thing.
No, it's not.
It is okay.
Yeah.
And, I pretty much picked my daughter's friends.
Yeah.
That's terrible what I did.
No, I think that's important too. I do.
Yeah.
Eventually, they're going to make up their own mind, but
Yes.
you can just, as long as you can, guide them the right way, and they'll come back to their foundation one day.
They will. And that is another biblical, teach your children the ways of the Lord when they're young. And when they get old, they won't depart from it.
Mm-hmm.
And they may have a season of, but they won't depart
Yeah.
from it.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
Well, I want to, we have a few things that we go over before we end the show. I actually am implementing this for the first time from my friend Megan, who's a dear friend of mine. She said, "Cory, I haven't listened to the show and you should,
So you're the one.
you should, I love you, Megan. You should have implement a question on the Coriolis effect and what your full circle Coriolis moment is. Do you have any in your life that you've come full circle on?
That I've come full circle on?
Like a moment in your life that is a full circle moment.
I don't know.
Well, first of all, how would you define a full
Yeah,
circle
I don't know.
moment?
You mean
A full
Maybe.
circle moment, like
I don't know what you mean either.
I know, nobody ever does.
like if I
Like
was raised
you-
a certain way and walked away and came back to it or something.
Yeah, something like that. Anything like that. That you just thought, wow, that was left unanswered or finished, and yet here you are. I have many of them in my life, but yet here you are, I mean, here you are at CPAC.
Yeah.
Interviewing, GOP members, and
Yeah.
did you ever think, when you were growing up, that you'd be on a plane,
No.
leaving your behind your family for a moment,
Yeah.
to pursue?
No, I didn't think I would be. And that was an opportunity that I got because of the coronavirus lockdown. Because I was a volunteer with the Walkway campaign, Brandon Strock's campaign, moderating. Actually, I was employed, but it was a voluntary employee. Moderating the California group for him. And then from there, I had only done that for a short time. And then Susan Connors of Flip It Right California, a group that had 65,000 members that shut down overnight, stayed away from all controversy. But we gave the measures on the ballots. We gave, this is what this person who is running believes in. This person was endorsed by the GOP. Hey, we don't like what's going on here. Contact this person. Here's a phone number. It was an activist site of 65,000 members. That gave me the opportunity to interview once again. So I started moderating for her during lockdown. I wasn't doing anything. So I said, yeah, I'll moderate. And then it gave me the opportunity to start interviewing the candidates and the California candidates specifically. So I got into journalism that way. Got, my manager through that, social media manager. And now that's kind of where my career started. So starting off wanting to be in journalism, and, being part of the Republican Club in college, and, I enjoyed my debate class and doing all of that, hoping that's where I was going to one day go, to be able to use my political passion in interviewing, to now where it kind of fell into my lap and has taken off. That's a full circle.
That's a full circle moment.
So
I love
cool.
that. That is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Because you just never know.
This all just fell in my lap, and it just kept happening. Just keeps happening.
It's
And I
like
just
a force, a
hope it keeps
momentum,
happening.
right?
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Yeah,
That's
it's been really neat. It's been really cool.
Love
Thank
that.
you, Megan.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for
Megan.
asking that. Yeah.
No, it's everybody has them, and you really have to think about it sometimes. But we have many of them,
Yeah.
and that is a great one. And
Thank
God's
you.
really behind it, pushing you to do do good stuff. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
So I have 3 questions.
Yes, you do.
I'm gonna hit the table because it really bothers Bob.
Told you, I'm
Yes.
not doing sound design for this anymore. Whatever the clicks and the pops are, the clicks and the pops will be there.
I know. I'm sorry, you guys. I'll tone it down for you. We like to ask each of our guests if they could describe themselves in 3 words. What would those 3 words be?
Okay. Bubbly. I'm going to say airheaded. Is that bad? A little bit.
No, I think you're very, very intelligent, so you can say whatever you want to, because airheaded is. I get some of that sometimes myself too. So go ahead.
I have so much going on around me at home, where I have mommy over here, work over here, a phone call over here, something else coming at me here. It's not airheaded. It's just that
I think it's called
have
a multitasker.
so much going on at all times. I can't always keep track of what I'm doing. And I sometimes lose my train of thought. So that's an honest part for me. But I'm bubbly, and I am a multitasker. I like that word better than airheaded.
It is true, though. Pulled in many different directions as a mom and a wife.
I'm in Toronto with my daughter at the Niagara Falls, and they have this big long railing, and there's this town behind it, which has this casino, 10-story casino. It's a little dilapidated. And I see all these people on the railing taking pictures, holding their phone, taking pictures of the city when Niagara Falls is behind them.
Yeah.
And I'm going, Sammy, to my daughter, why are these people taking pictures of that stupid town in Niagara Falls? She goes, Dad, they're holding the phone up and taking selfies of themselves and the falls. And I go, that's an airhead moment.
That's an airhead Bob moment.
Yeah, I think for me it's just a distraction. But but on that,
Bubbly, multitasker, and one more.
I would say intelligent. I mean, I definitely
would too.
use my brain. So it's just I have to just take my bubbly, multitasking, which is such a great word. I'm going to use that from now on.
You're bubbly intelligent.
My bubbly, intelligent multitasker, but I would also add very loving, because I really just, I will say that my
I'm sorry,
heart,
you can only have 3.
my heart for people, I'm taking a 4th. My heart for people, and compassion. It's a bleeding heart. I really am, for everybody.
No, I love that.
So.
I get it. I get it, and that's a beautiful quality.
Thank
It
you.
is. It really is. We do a little test called the Rorschach test. He
Very
always
good.
does
Very
that
good.
to me. I know I got it this time. Oh, sorry. Okay, so
You can't
that
show 'em
is
before.
So cool.
Oh my God, you're our first person who's like, okay, so
I saw this. I think it was on The Simpsons, and like I think you know what the one guy kept like saying all these like. Do you remember this one?
Yeah.
One of them would say like what actually like a butterfly, and the other guy would say like some really inappropriate things.
Right.
You just tell what's on people's minds.
Right.
Let's go.
So, and there's no right or wrong, and it's just it is what it is. So
we've given everybody the same
Yes.
5 images.
yes,
So eventually there'll be one episode with 25 of everybody. You'll see how you compare with
yes.
Frank Stallone and Jack Wagner and a pastor from.
I'm sorry. Did you say
Tennessee.
Jack Wagner?
No, I didn't say Jack Wagner. If you ever get a chance, watch the Jack Wagner movie.
I know
Cory
it's
can't
pretty.
speak.
I can't speak. I
Okay.
literally lost it. I don't know why, but Jack, I do love you. Okay, so here we go. Really quickly, right?
Yep. That just looks like the world, like China or something, like part of Asia or something.
I see that with the. I can see through these too. So yeah, I can see what you're saying. Okay.
It looks like a jack-o'-lantern.
Oh, okay.
Or like a bat. I don't know, it's kind of
Yeah.
creepy. That's a creepy one.
I'm hiding my nail because I have this one nail that I've tried. It's terrible. Okay.
Huh. Oh, gosh. I see a lot of things in this one. I see hands up in the air, but I also see the bottom looks like a butterfly. And a lot of these look like butterflies, right? I mean, just because you fold the page in half. And butterflies are so symmetric. I don't know. It could be 2 people dancing and kicking each other and slapping their hands.
I see 2 elephants right here.
Oh, that's cool. I'm
Right?
going to go with the 2 guys dancing, kicking their feet together and slapping their
Oh
hands.
yeah, you're right. I see that too.
Russian dancers. Right?
That's definitely a bat. I mean, there's no doubt about
Definitely.
that. Oh, that's like some guy's face that smushed his face into black paint and then onto the paper.
Okay.
That's
true.
definitely a dude.
All right.
Forehead and all.
Those are good.
Yep.
I see what you see. One last question, and that is, this is the silly one. Just a really benign question, but it's actually fun. I know you're married, happily married, you have 4 children, you have a beautiful family, but who's your celebrity crush?
Oh, my gosh. I'm going to forget now because it's been so long since I've had one. I used to love, when I was growing up, I loved Scott Baio. Oh my gosh. I would
Scott Baio.
scream.
Oh, Scott Baio,
When
yeah.
he would come on the TV. Actually, at a PureFlix event, I actually met him in passing, and I was like, oh, funny.
We were supposed to do his podcast, but then COVID hit and we never really got into it. Maybe we'll call him up and start having him do his
Yeah,
podcast
Scott,
again.
if you're listening, we'd like to have you on the show.
Matthew McConaughey is always a good one.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with you on that one. I mean, I can say that but yeah, he's good.
Mm-hmm. He is. Yeah, that would probably be my most recent one. Even though I don't really know if I have one recently.
Yeah, I mean,
we've been on hold with like any new movies or anything, right?
I know. Well, Sam Hugum. He's not bad. He's on the Outlander. He's been in a lot of Hallmark movies. Sam, if you're listening, just saying.
I'm trying to think of
You have
someone
an open
in
invitation to
politics.
come on the
come on the
show.
show. Well,
I don't think I have any in politics. I'm trying to think of one. I'm like, Donald Trump's like a dad to me, and like I'm not
He's got
into
sons.
his kids. Yeah, I find them all as leaders. I don't see them that way. But Matthew McConaughey is definitely he's probably my one.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, Scott.
And he's a cool guy.
Yeah, sorry, Scott. Yeah. Yes, he is. And he's actually in Texas now teaching at the university, I believe, right?
Yeah, and
Doing
I
all
don't
kinds
think
of things.
I think he's somewhat politically. I think as well, like somewhat either neutral or a little bit even.
Yeah.
So Scott Baio. See, I picked him well, even at 3rd grade or 4th grade or whatever I was when I was little watching.
That's so cute.
Yeah.
Well, Anne Elizabeth, we're so happy to have you here
Thank
today.
you.
Thank you for all
It was
of
so
this
fun.
information. We're going to tune into Smart Conservatives, which is on Facebook, Instagram,
Anne Elizabeth.
Twitter.
Yep.
Anne Elizabeth.
Anne Elizabeth on Facebook, Anne Elizabeth SC for Smart Conservatives on Instagram. And then we couldn't get it on Twitter because some girl from Littlest Pet Shops, when she was like 2012, has Anne Elizabeth SC. She has one post about Littlest Pet Shops from 2012, and they won't give it to me. So instead, I'm Anne Elizabeth US on Twitter.
Okay.
And Parler is going to be SC as well, but when it gets back up and running
there's
for
back
real. Everybody says that. You can't do anything. It's like,
Oh, really? Because I
yeah.
downloaded the app, but I haven't used it too much.
Have you heard of
can't do it.
Clubhouse?
No.
Okay.
I'm going to have to change my
Hit
business cards
Clubhouse.
again.
Yes.
I already saying that. And then there's Clout Hub and there's Telegram.
There's so many.
Every time I have to change my business cards, I'm like,
I know.
See, I had these printed at
I know,
Staples.
you brought these.
I know, but they're so cheap. I got them at Staples at CPAC.
But I don't understand. They look great. Look at, you can see these are great cards. Look at this.
So you know what I did? I order from Vistaprint, and I literally took like a screenshot of the Vistaprint card, and then I transferred it as a picture onto my business card. That's why they're so faint, and that's why it's not cut off. Like it's not like
no,
totally
it's great.
But that's on my social media.
You know,
I feel like I have to change my social media.
I used to have to wait like 2 weeks to get.
Okay, first of all, in a pinch.
Yeah.
Avery sells 10 per page. You can put in a color printer and print your own.
Oh, that's great.
That's true.
Yeah, I didn't have a printer either. But the last day, I found out that there was a company called the 11th Hour at the bottom of the Hyatt Regency Hotel where they had CPAC, where I could have had my banner printed that I didn't print. I could have gotten business cards there, and I didn't have to take a half-hour ride to the nearest Staples. Well, I learned a lot.
Let me tell you, you are. It's quoted that you are the media darling of CPAC. So you did well.
Thank you. I appreciate
you did well, and
thank you
for standing up for the Constitution and patriotism and all that we have embodied throughout centuries. And we salute you and we appreciate you.
Thank you.
Please tell your 94-year-old dad who served as a veteran that we love him.
Thank you.
And we are grateful for his views.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anne,
I appreciate
for coming in today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me on the show. It's been fun. Really fun.
And we're out.
Hi, guys. I'm Cory Oliver, and thank you for watching The Coriolis Effect. We hope you enjoyed the previous episode. Here are some more episodes you might enjoy. Hit the subscribe button below, and have a great day.